You have always been told a very simple, comforting story about the origins of your money. In your old school books, it started with a friendly trade, like swapping a fat chicken for a warm loaf of bread. This innocent idea makes perfect sense to our modern, logical minds. We naturally assume currency was simply invented by societies to make daily shopping easier. But when you look closely, that highly convenient narrative completely falls apart. The peaceful barter economy that you believe in is a total myth. Money was never born from convenience, but instead came from something much darker. So if money did not start with barter, where exactly did it first start? Before there were any shiny objects in your pockets, there was simply a favor. Picture a primitive community thousands of years ago. You help your neighbor build a sturdy shelter. He does not hand you a piece of silver, he just owes you. That obligation sits there, hanging in the cold air. It was an invisible network of trust, a mental ledger keeping strict track of human energy. This is the true origin of economics. It was not about swapping goods, it was about debt. It was about remembering exactly who contributed what to the group. But there is a fatal flaw in human memory. As tribes rapidly expanded into sprawling settlements, that invisible network began to fracture. You can trust a neighbor you see every single morning. You cannot trust a stranger from the other side of the valley. Suddenly, a mental ledger is not enough. You need something tangible. You need a physical object to clearly represent that lingering favor. You need a token to freeze human energy in time. This changes everything you thought you knew. Money is not a product. Money is an accounting system. It is a physical manifestation of who owes what. When you hand someone a bill today, you are not trading something of inherent value. You are simply transferring a tiny unit of trust. You are moving a number from your column to theirs. This realization reveals a much colder reality. Money was never invented to make daily shopping easier for the common man. It was invented to keep score. It was a mechanism designed to carefully track the debts of the masses. And this is exactly where the inherent danger always lies. A scorecard is a remarkably powerful thing. The moment you can keep score, you can rig the game. The moment you can manufacture the tokens of trust, you hold absolute power over the entire community. For a long time, this system remained highly informal. It was messy. The tokens constantly varied, but human ambition is relentlessly hungry. A scorecard scattered among the masses is ultimately useless to a ruler. Power demands absolute centralization. Power demands a strict monopoly on trust. To truly rule, a leader needed to take that abstract concept of debt and stamp their own face right onto it. They needed to forge the ultimate invisible chain to bind the wealth of their people forever. To see exactly how this dark trap was first set, we must leave the safe realm of pure theory. We must travel back across the dusty centuries. We have to closely examine the exact moment when this invisible network of trust was violently pulled from the hands of the common people. We need to step directly into a specific ancient kingdom where the ultimate financial manipulation was quietly born. This is exactly where the true illusion of modern currency actually begins to take a physical shape in history. To see the exact moment this invisible network of trust was physically captured, we must travel to the 6th century BC. Picture the ancient Kingdom of Lydia, located in what we know today as modern Turkey. Before this moment, trade was a chaotic mess of weighing raw metals. If you wanted to trade, you had to weigh chunks of silver or gold. You had to test it. You had to trust the merchant standing across from you. Trust was entirely decentralized. It belonged to the people. But a decentralized system is a ruler's absolute worst nightmare. Power cannot tolerate something it cannot control. Enter King Croesus. He looked at this messy web of human exchange and saw a massive vulnerability. He saw a system waiting to be conquered. Croesus did something no one had ever done before. He did not just hoard wealth, he systematically engineered it. Under his strict command, the Kingdom of Lydia began to mint the very first standardized coins. He used pure gold and pure silver. Every single piece was carefully measured. Every single piece was fiercely standardized for absolute purity. And most importantly, every single piece was stamped with a royal seal. This was not a public service. You have been led to believe that kings minted coins out of pure benevolence. You think they just wanted to make it easier for a farmer to sell his wheat. That is a comforting lie. Croesus did not create standardized coins to help the common man shop. He created them to assert absolute royal power. By stamping his official seal onto the gold and silver, he was sending a very clear message. He was claiming total ownership over the concept of value itself. He took the decentralized trust of the village and locked it inside a royal vault. If you wanted to participate in the economy, you now had to play his exact game. You had to use his specific tokens. The king became the sole absolute arbiter of what was real and what was fake. Notice what happened here. The physical material was just gold and silver. But the true magic was in the monopoly of the mint. Once Croesus established this ultimate standard, he held the entire economy in the palm of his hand. He could decide exactly how much money flowed through the kingdom. This is the precise moment when the nature of money fundamentally mutated. It transformed from a quiet social agreement into a loud weapon of the state, and this is the exact pattern that you will see repeat endlessly for the next several millennia. It is a different empire, a different material, the exact same ending. Whenever a central authority takes control of the currency, they are quietly placing a collar around the neck of the economy. The standardization of purity was never about honesty. It was always about dominance. When you zoom out and look at this timeline from above, the brilliant trap becomes painfully obvious. The people gave up their invisible ledger of trust for the shiny convenience of a minted coin. They traded their raw freedom for a beautiful piece of stamped metal. They did not realize they were slowly walking into a cage. They did not know they were surrendering the ultimate power. The invention of the standardized coin was a masterful psychological trick. It successfully disguised absolute control as a highly convenient public utility. The coin was never actually invented to simply make your shopping easier. The coin was never just a harmless piece of metal. It was a heavy chain of power, legitimized by purity. What happened in that ancient kingdom was not an isolated historical event. It was a master blueprint. The creation of the standardized coin set off a vicious chain reaction that would echo across every continent for the next few millennia. Once that first royal seal was proudly stamped onto silver, the ultimate cheat code for power was fully unlocked. And human nature dictates that once a cheat code is discovered, it will be relentlessly used until the entire game breaks. Every form of currency humans have ever used since that exact moment has followed the exact same tragic arc. It always gets created out of thin air. People come to deeply trust it. Then absolute power captures it. It quietly drains its inherent value, and it eventually collapses. Think about the extreme danger of a total monopoly on trust. When a central authority strictly controls the money supply, they inevitably face an impossible temptation. Rulers always have massive armies to feed. They have towering monuments to build. They have crippling systemic debts to pay off. The mathematical solution is always the exact same. You quietly alter the pure standard. You subtly expand the total supply. You expertly create the grand illusion of more wealth while silently draining the actual purchasing power of the people holding the physical tokens. This is not a random flaw in the economic system. This is the entire point of the system. The rulers effortlessly maintain their absolute dominance, and the working citizens pay the hidden price. You do not even notice it happening at first. The physical tokens still look exactly the same in your hands. They carry the official seal. They feel heavy with authority. They seem perfectly safe and secure. But day by day, year by year, they quietly buy slightly less. Your daily labor is suddenly worth a tiny fraction of what it was yesterday. This is the darkest alchemy of all. It is the slow, deliberate, and invisible siphoning of human energy. The literal sweat of your brow is secretly transferred directly to the vault of the state. You find yourself working harder and harder just to stay in the exact same place. The ancient ledger of trust has been ruthlessly weaponized against you. Now, step out of the ancient dust and look at your own modern life. Go ahead and pull out your wallet right now. Look closely at the paper notes sitting inside. Check the glowing digital numbers on your phone screen. You bleed every single day for that specific currency. You trade your finite time on this earth for those exact units. You trust them completely. But who actually controls the endless supply? Who decides exactly how many of those specific units can exist? It is certainly not you. It is the modern equivalent of the ancient king. You are blindly playing on a board where an unseen entity owns all the pieces. We look back at ancient civilizations and politely laugh at their primitive economic systems. We truly think we are infinitely more sophisticated today because our currency is printed on advanced polymer or instantly transmitted through highly encrypted digital servers. But strip away the shiny modern technology and the underlying architecture is totally identical. The masterful psychological trick remains completely unchanged. We willingly traded our raw freedom for daily convenience. We surrendered the ultimate power to an unseen central authority. It is a different empire. It is a completely different material. But it is always the exact same ending. The game is still completely rigged against you from the very first day until this very moment. From the dusty streets of ancient Lydia to the glowing digital servers of the modern world, the grand illusion has never once faltered. Money is not and has never been a neutral tool for your convenience. It is a highly engineered machine designed to carefully dictate human power. It is the ultimate invisible network that quietly dictates exactly what your daily sweat and finite time are actually worth. For thousands of years, you have been playing a rigged game on a board where the ruling class completely owns the scorecard. But history is not just a static loop of endless defeat. The fundamental architecture of trust is currently fracturing once again. We are standing at the edge of the most brutal financial revolution in human history. The invisible chains that King Croesus forged are finally starting to break under the immense weight of the digital age. A new decentralized ledger is rapidly being written right in front of your eyes. The ultimate battle for the absolute monopoly on trust has already begun. So when the ancient system inevitably collapses entirely, who exactly will be holding the controls? And will it actually end up being you, Zen, okay?